Hello, hello. Today I'm going to be making a quick pin. It's going to be a quick one. It's going to be a quick one. It's going to have all the components that you would need in order to make a single start with a 1/2 inch tap and die, and then a 3/8 body section and all that jazz. So it'll be a pretty quick one. I did a run earlier today to make sure that I still knew what I was doing when it came to this, so we should be good to go. Um, this will all be centered around a Parker refill, and then I'm also going to be doing some other recording at the same time with my phone in order to actually turn this into a video for a for an upcoming video. So yeah, that is what I'm going to be doing today. Yeah. Have you been, man? I got all that out of the way. So now I can chat for a second uh, and go over basically what it is that I'm going to be looking at here, or what we're going to be looking at, and all that. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, pretty good, man. Been busy. Just got through cutting the grass. Been thinking about it. And I was thinking about like the starting point of like the opening line of the video. It's like, all right, you cheap bastards, here's the cheapest way to make a bespoke pin. But yeah, I don't think that would go over well, so I'm gonna avoid saying that in my video. This live is also gonna be going. Uh, it'll end up be going away actually once I get the stuff that I need. But yeah, I was thinking about a whole bunch of different lines of how to start. It's like, all right, so it's been a long time coming. Here we are, or I don't know, but whatever. I don't know, man. We're just gonna get right to it and just kind of cruise right along. Um, I haven't decided if I'm gonna be trying to narrate it during or post. I'll probably do it in post, but oh man, I appreciate you. Appreciate you. Yeah, yep, yep. Oh, well, I drew out some designs, so I've got another project. Oh, you know what else I did? I did my schedule. I got a relative schedule. Yeah, and actually, streaming tonight isn't on my schedule, so I'm already deviating from it. So it should go great. Uh, yeah, yep, yep. Okay, so let me see how this will work. Yeah, you know, you're probably right. It's just I kind of see it as like a scattered view of stuff, and it just kind of nice, got it nice and obnoxious sounding. That's good. Okay, so um, for the record, this evening, you see I have the streaming camera, and then I also have my phone. The phone is going to be doing some of the recording that's going to be for the video. So just so you know, I tried I've tried to, well, in post production too. I'll try to keep it. I'll try to make it a little better as well. No promises, though. But here we go. Got that set. And then this is pretty good. It's not fantastic, but it'll be good enough. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. We are all ready. Let's rock. Okay, so since I do have control over this, I can actually zoom it. There we go. There we go. All right, that is satisfactory. Okay, now this is good to go. All right, so for this setup, what we're going to need is we're going to need the jaws. So I have a 4-jaw chuck. Well, I'm only going to be using 2 of the jaws. Here's the T-handle for it. I have the live center. I have the parting tool, the Jacob's chuck for grabbing all of the drill bits. The EasyWood turning tool is a round carbide. The CI3, I find that's my favorite one. I think the actual diameter is 12 millimeter. I've got a pair of pliers. You might be wondering what that's for. And then we've got one that I made earlier today. And then I've got 2 blanks that I'll be working on. I have a variety of drill bits and other components that I'm going to be using. So this is a 3/8 tap with the corresponding 3/8 die, and then a 1/2-inch tap with a 1/2-inch die, and then a 3/8 and 1/2-inch plug cutter. And then you'll see some weird bolts that I'll go over a little later. And then also I've got this pin is going to be for a Parker refill, and everything will be designed around that. And then obviously we've got the lathe over there. So this is where we're going to be starting. All right. Let's switch back here. Get this repositioned. Alrighty. Get that out of the way. You may notice that one of these is a diamond cast. Oh, that's my phone. Okay. One of these is a diamond cast, like a Patriot or whatever, blank. Whatever. Okay, so when I used to make these, I used to start with a section, and you'll see that these blanks already have a they're already like measured out and trimmed, but they don't need to be. I just didn't want to choose another one because I do have some other diamond casts, but really the point is to just have a nice straight and flat one because I'm going to be using the jaws in order to hold it anyways. So it doesn't have to be super perfect. Yeah. Okay. I guess I could show this little part first. So this is what we're going to be making here. Well, we're going to bring this one well, not this one, but we're going to bring another one to more conclusion here. And then I threw the cap on the ground. It's a Parker style, see? So a Parker will fit in there. And it's not the best one that I've done, obviously. I just wanted to make sure my measurements were still pretty good and good enough for it. These are the actual lines right here. So this would be the size of the pin. So you can make it pretty small when the design is around just a small ink refill. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So I'm not going to use anything other than what you've seen, other than a saw, because you can use a saw or a parting tool. It doesn't really matter. Let's see. Okay. So first thing that I like to do, like I said, is I'm going to go ahead and separate these two. Yeah. We'll separate them. So let me go ahead and write down the measurements I've got on them. All right, so we're looking at about 105 millimeter. Doesn't have to be perfect, but that's about where we are. 105 millimeter. The biggest thing about making bespoke pins is being able to make them, you know, and like being able to figure out these things, knowing the parameters and stuff that you're going for. So about 105, and then I mean the diamond casts are just really big. Okay, so this one is about 67 millimeter. About 67 millimeter. And then this one is like, I don't know, 90. Okay. So we got our components marked. So these are about 105 mil. And then the different size, this is a diamond cast on the bottom. So this one is about 90 millimeter from this line here to here, which is going to be the cap. And then it's 67 from here to here. And then this is where I'm going to get the section. And that is about 37. So 37 millimeter. There we go. And then this one is going to be probably 39. Okay. So we got 37 and 39. Not hugely important, but just having enough. to have about a 25 millimeter, 20 to 25 millimeter section. It just really depends on the size that you want it to be. So to kind of give you an idea, this section, I think, is the grip part, at least, is a 2550 is what it was. Yeah, 2550. Well, my slide calipers want to adjust all over the place, but just it's 2550. Okay, so we're not going to do too much wazoo stuff with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, where's my T-handle? There we go. I got everything all set up and then throwing stuff around. So as I mentioned, I typically like to do the section first, but it really doesn't matter that much in this particular case because we're going to make adjustments anyways when we go. So being able to do that is pretty, I'd say is a pretty important skill to be able to do. So I'm going to start with the diamond cast here. I'm going to start with a diamond cast, and we've got the body, and you can pretend that this is all the same size. It doesn't really matter. So we've got the body chucked up, and it's turning pretty true. It's good enough. There's a time a little later we can adjust that if we really needed to. All right, so we got this end supported. Now we're turning nice and true. I'm coping. All right, I'm coping, so I'm going to use a coping saw. But I'm only going to run it at about 7 hundo. Let's see, maybe 850. I don't know if you can see it. It says 781 on the bottom there. Boop. All right. All right, now I'll take a look at the teeth of my coping saw here. And I could use a parting tool, but you don't really need to. You can use whatever you want. Okay. Now, we don't really care about where that went, but we found it. See? There we go. Now, for now, we don't really know the depth, right? Because we haven't explored that quite yet. So this is going to be a little bit of a exploration in your skills, as well as making something as you go. So we're already spinning. A square carbide, or another trick that I like to do because I'm kind of lazy. Okay, I'm kind of lazy, yeah. I try to find efficient ways to do stuff, and if this is going to be mounted anyways, I will use a Forstner bit. So all we're doing is I'm keeping the tailstock nice and loose for now before I lock it into place. There we go. All right, so It's loose right now. I'm going to go ahead and rotate until I make contact and the bit centers. And then I'm going to lock it. And then I'm going to continue going until I face it. Boom. Now we have a beautiful center mark. Are there other ways to do it? Yeah, heck yeah. Of course there are. But this is how we're going to do it right now. All right. Oh, that was also not on the equipment list, so I'll throw that out there as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the 21/64 drill bit here. Got a 21/64, and that, like I said, we're not measuring. We're just going to go in, right? We're going to go in for the sake of this. Just go ahead and, I don't know, choose a measure that I know it's not going to be greater than. So about 1.5 inches is where we are. 1.5 inches is about where it's at. Yeah. About 1.5. There you go. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter right now. Remember, we're doing this easy as possible with very little thinking. All we're going to do, we're going to be spinning it at about 170. All right, we're in at about 1.5 inches or so. Like I mentioned, it wasn't that important. Okay, that was the 21/64 drill bit. Now we're going to go ahead and get the 3/8 inch plug tap rather. This is the 3/8 by 24. 3/8 by 24 tap. And if you want to be able to power run your lathe in order to do this, you're going to have to swap gears, which I do, and I will have other ones that I'm going to want to do this with. So I'm going to drop it down to a less top end and more torque gear. So it shouldn't be an issue. And if it is, I'll drop it down again. All right, I'm just going to run this, make contact, seat it into the hole, turn your lathe all the way down as long as you have a super slow setting, and just let it run it in. I'm going at 50, 40. Come on, baby. Oh, and then it gave up. Then it gave up. It's fine. Good old days of manual. Okay, sweet. That's all we needed. Okay, now that we are done with that, we're going to take our plug cutter. It says 13 mil on it. And to measure it, let's see what we're looking at here. Here we are. We have, it's about 1292 on the inner. So what that means is we're going to have to sand it down a little bit because let's see, half an inch that we're going for is about 12.7 or so. So we're going to use this, and it's going to gently make contact, crank it back up to about 700. Don't need to go very deep here. we're just going to get a reference mark, go in just a little bit, pop it back, because if you spend too much time on it, it'll get hot, and then it can cause it to overheat and then expand, and we don't want that. Once we're here, I'm going to use a square carbide, and then take this all the way back to where the tool cut. I'm going to measure it. So we are at a 1302. So we need to drop that down a decent amount. So we're going to crank it up a little bit. And we're just going to try to get even pressure and trim it down just a little bit. Sure, calipers are zeroed. Where are we at? 1302 still. What the heck? Never mind. 1287, 1288, 1292. Okay. We're getting there. Just a little bit more. Okay. Nice and easy. Now we are at 1280. 1280. Let's see. We're going to do just a tad bit more. Nothing crazy. Just a tiny bit. Square it off. And then while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and use the corner of my tool to give the inside a bevel and the outside a bevel. That's nice. Oh man, that is just splendid. Okay, so because I don't have a plug yet, and that's fine, but I want to support the inside, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I can do that. And I'm going to use this 3/8 tap that I've got. And then I am going to grab my 1/2 inch die. So, important thing, make sure that your die is the same as the tap that you're going to use. So this is 1/2 inch by 20. This is also 1/2 inch by 20. So just to make sure that you've got it set. All right, we don't need that plug anymore. I've got the pliers. Pliers are going to be for holding. Is it the best way? No. But none of this has been the best way so far. So, back to tool up. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold this for camera purposes. Okay, we're just going to go in. We're going to make contact. Try to make it as flat and level as possible. And then you can use your tool rest if you really want to for the pliers. And then just get it started. And then just let it go. Boom. All right, once you get all the way to the end, back it back off. We'll have some decent threads here. Not gorgeous, but we're using a cheap set of taps and dies, so you only expect so much. But I'd say that they look pretty good. Need to. This is another handy thing for the pliers. But here we go. Use this and back out the 3/8. Boom. All right. Oh, let's see. How's it going? How's it going? Decent threads. Yeah. Oh, these are good. Okay. I am going to go ahead and do this right quick. Pause. I'm going to come up here, get a little close up of my threads with my phone. My God, that looks hideous. But that's okay. You know what? Everybody's got to start somewhere. Everybody's got to start somewhere. All right? All right. So, parting tool. Let's see. So parting tool, kind of just a little relief. Don't be shy. What we're trying to do is just get some repetitions, you know? We're just trying to get some repetition. So when we did the 1/2 inch, I'm gonna end up cutting my finger because they're jagged here. Because we did that, it is not ideal. So we're going to do a little gradual angle here. And if you can touch the surface of it, then I'd say it's good, right? But if you can't, and it's jagged / going to cut you, I'd say that that's not good, right? We want to make sure we're not going to hurt the user. Although, I should have mentioned this at the very beginning. However, it's not going to be an uploaded video this way. But what I was going to say, I'll go ahead and tell you, is if you're going to do this, don't sell this. Don't sell this. This is literally going to be nothing. Like this is nothing. I'm doing this for demonstration purposes. But here we go. Like I said, we didn't do anything too measure intensive with that yet. So we're still fine. Let's see. This, let me go ahead and do this. So we've got, now we've got our cap, right? We got our cap, and then we've got our section. So for the cap, I'm going to start working on the cap next. So here we go. All right, so clamp it into the jaws. We've got our cap, yeah? Yeah. So like I showed you before, I'm going to go ahead. Well, what? I'll show you this. We'll do it the other way. That way we can have a little bit of diversity in our portfolio, eh? Square carbide. I'm going to use this, and then we're just going to run it straight across, and then we're going to tilt the carbide square in, do a little touch, you know? So we're just going to run it in. Look at that, squared. Give it a little touchy. Make sure you don't have a little nip sticking out. And if you did, now you don't. Now you got the detent. Yeah? Pretty cool. All right. Now, because this is the cap and we don't really know how deep that we need to go with the section, other than we know that our section is at least going to be, we want the grip section to be what, 20, what did we say, 20, 25? We'll just say 25. We'll say 25. And then you got to account for the tip of the pin. So we're just basically going to do this. And then the last thing we got to do. Okay. What we need to do, let me restart this. In order to determine the depth for the cap, what we need to do is measure this tenon here, and that is about 8 millimeter. And so 8 plus 25, the 25 is going to be the length of our grip section. So with the calipers, here's what you can do. You can have this set here, and basically what you do is you're going to hit 0, and we're going to go to 25. And this won't actually tell you the number necessarily, but it will show you the depth that we need to go. So it ends up being about 32. So what's the 8 plus 35 or 25? What's that? 33. Yeah, that's 33. See? And then that's right where we are on the slide caliper. I don't know if you can see that, but there's the 10, 20, 30, and then just a couple notches past it. So that's a little trick that you can use. For this, we're going to do the 1/2 inch, and it's going to go to, let's see, 25, 30, okay. I'll get my Sharpie. Okay. So we winged it, and it's 30, 33. So there we go. Here's my mark. There is my mark. So for everybody's sake here, we got this, and we're about there, and that puts us at 33. Yeah, 33 and a half. It's fine. We'll get wrapped around that. Okay. So, oh yeah, I forgot to mention the drill size here. This is a 31/64. 31/64, and it's going to be used for a 1/2 inch. So again, cap, I've already measured it. The tenon on the body is 8. We need to go in past 25 plus 8 for the grip section, and then another mil for the tip of the nib. So there we go. Alrighty, I'm gonna drill it out. Definitely don't stay in too long, especially if your material is thin, which is a part of why I never use this material. Because I'm an idiot and I drilled, or I turned it all down to that size in the first place, which I shouldn't have done, but I did, so might as well make some lemonade, you know? Come on. To the line. And we're free. Home free. Nice. Now, this is your last chance to check your tap and die for what's coming next. So this is a 1/2 inch by 20, and this is a 1/2 inch by 20. Let's rock and roll. Let's see. It doesn't matter really how deep you go. It just has to at least be the flat part. I guess I'll show you that right quick. So what we've got is a tap that needs to match up with these threads, but you can see that these here are not actually quite threads, right? You can see that those aren't quite threads. They won't cut. It's basically just a starting point. So what you have to take a look at, don't worry about the measurement or anything, what you need to take a look at is about where it planes out. Then you got to measure it from there, the 8mm. So for this one, I actually need to go about right here for this. Dang it. Damn it. There we go. I need to go about right here for this. So, yeah. Just so you know. And during that time, it was actually a strategic pause, by the way, because I wanted to give this a little time to cool from the drilling that I just did. All right, so we get it started, and you can see that it didn't even grab a hold of it until after. You know, it went in a decent amount before. There we go. Before actually grabbing a hold. See? Okay, so we're going to seat it, make sure that we're good, make sure everything's clear, make sure that your tailstock is not locked. And then we're going to rotate it to this spot where my fingernail tip is. Or beyond. It doesn't matter that much. Again, we're trying to get repetitions. We're not going for beautiful. We're going for, does it work? That's what we're going for. We're going for it working. Okay? Boom. Cool. Let's take a look at what we got. So we got our barrel, our cap. Let's see if, hey, look at that. Thread, look at that. Ho ho. And she's turning pretty nice, if I do say so myself. All right. So the next thing we've got to do is there it is. Gotta take the T-handle out. Empty out all this crap. Okay, there's none in there. I'm just being dramatic, I guess. Okay, we're going to flip it around. And for this, we're going to just go ahead and cut this section off. So again, the section itself, this is about, what's this, 40mm? It's about 40mm. Okay, so the time has come The time has come for the section, and it is about 40 millimeters right now. And we're going to cut it off with the back end of the cat. Let's see, I am turning at come on, 700. Okay, we're right at about 700. Okay, and since we're still coping here, we've got our saw, and I'm just going to go ahead and use this. You want to keep track of it once you lose it. There we go. And then while we're at this point, might as well go ahead and do a little pilot hole, a starter hole, because when we do turn this, that's where the live center is going to end up going. So you can go ahead and address that right now. Sweet. Okay, look at that. Bada bing, bada boom. We got this. We got the longest pin with the longest threads so far, which is pretty sweet. So what we need to do now is take a look at our ink refill and see where we're fitting inside of these things. And then that will get us rolling. So I've got the barrel. Right, I've got the barrel of the pen, and this is as far as that goes, and this is as far as that goes right now. So what I need to figure out is the section. The section is one of the more complicated things, but don't let it scare you now. You'll be all right. We're going to work through this together. So for this, just so you know, I don't have the measurements on these, by the way. The only thing that I know is the diameter that I need to use for these things. So just going to keep that in mind. We need to mark out the section length that we're going for. Let's see, what are we at? We are at 38.25 now. Okay. And we want our section to be, what do we say, 25? Yeah, let's go 25. We'll just continue with that. 20. I don't know. It doesn't matter. So between 25 and 30 or so. 29. 28. All right, let's do that. Let's do 28. Because like I said, it doesn't matter too much. Okay, so yeah, 28. Cool. Oh, man. I didn't mark it. I'll show you here in just a second. I gotta mark it. And it doesn't want to. There we go. Okay. So 28 millimeter section. Yeah? Everybody good? Good enough. All right, and then, so we can take a look at our tenon. We just want to make sure that we are over 8, so we're pretty well above 8. And the reason we want to be above 8 is because that's how long our body section is. So for me, I want that to be, I want the section threads to be slightly longer than my body threads. That way we're gripping on the inside of this body here just a tiny bit. Cool. All right. Okay. So the next thing is to determine where we're at here. So this is hard to hold and do at the same time, but I'm going to do my best. Okay. So we're just going to leave this section this long. Okay. And we want the pen ink, and I'm sorry, this is probably really clumsy looking, isn't it? There. There. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at our Parker refill here. We want it to sit out just a tad, yeah? We want it about this much sticking out, just this bit, just that amount right there. You know, the ideal. We don't want it to stick too far out, but we don't want it, you know, not enough. So here's what we're going to do. Here we go. We're going to get our calipers, and we're going to have it set. This would be easier if I could lay it down, but I can't, so here we go. So measuring from this point, the thickest point, to this point is what I'm looking at right now. And so with that, we're looking at about 1945. Okay. We're not going to move any further until I get that set, because I've got the calipers set the way that I want them to be. And we're not moving it. Okay. All right. Let me readjust here. And she's staring at my feet. Not into that. Just kidding. Just kidding. Well, I'm not into that, but you know. Okay, so it's probably a drill bit you have around. It's just a 1/4 inch. So for the sake of this particular thing here, for the sake of this thing here, I've got a 1/4 inch drill bit, and the reason it is a 1/4 inch is because it facilitates the diameter of this. I can't show you right now. That's the other channel. Yeah. It facilitates the ink refill here. So I'm going to go ahead and measure my 1943 on the flat part of this drill bit here. And then I'm just going to mark the bit. And I should also mention, if you wanted to be more conservative and inch your way closer to the end goal, I recommend it. So the way that we're going to do that is we're actually going to factor in this tip here, although it's probably not necessary to factor in because of where we measured, if that makes sense. So we got our 19 mark here. And it's easier to drill a little deeper than try to figure out how to go the other direction. It won't work. So here's 19. 1943 mark on my 1/4" drill bit. Go ahead and get it in there. Find my spot. There we go. This is set up nicely. I am going to crank it up, square it off. Oh, that's nice. Okay, here we go. I'm going to move it in. Same thing I do with the other stuff. I'm going to leave my tailstock unlocked. I'm going to rotate it in with ready to lock the tailstock. And then I'm going to slowly move the tailstock in until I see that it centers. I'm going to lock it. And then I'm going to just go to that mark that I did and then come back out. Okay. So from here, the next thing I need to do is don't get rid of that quite yet. Don't get rid of that quite yet. But we need to take our 7/64ths. This is a 7/64ths drill bit, and it is going to be creating a space for this part. So basically what we're doing on the inside is we're having the 1/4" shoulder the piece far enough. You know what? I'll just do it here in a second. All right. For this drill bit, we're going to go all the way through. And you'll see when it pops out the other end that we're through. We are free and clear. Careful these get toasty. Alrighty. So we're here, and because I have them in these jaws, I'm actually able to test fit son of a. There we go. Okay. Where was I? As I was saying, because I've got these jaws, I can test fit the ink here and see where we're sitting. And well, I wouldn't say I'm surprised, but I am glad where we ended up. So here is where we are. You can see that slightly sticking out. Yeah? Pretty freaking awesome sauce. So, 1 second here. Crap. Here we go. All right, here we go. Okay, so, like I was saying, we have it to where the tip is just sticking right out, and it's just about to be shouldered. So, for this particular one, I am not going to drill any deeper with my 1/4". What I'm going to do instead is trim it back just a little bit at the very, very end. So I'm not going to touch it at all. But I am going to go ahead and go back and cut my tenon here. So I got to recheck it. Make sure. Here's a cool tip here. Is it usually works better if you yeah, see, so you can use this, the hole that you initially put in, use that to set it up to make sure it's relatively centered before minor adjustments, if necessary, which we don't need any adjustment. So, moving forward. Last thing that we need to do, well, when it comes to this type of stuff, is what I've got here is the 10 drill bit. And just to make sure, before I do it on this here, I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice a piece right quick. Actually, because I can. This will only be a moment. Want to make sure before we do it, you know. Just a moment. Just a moment. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. I haven't left. I haven't left. We're still good. Just testing something right quick. Oh, yeah. That's what we're talking about. Okay, I'm good. Don't know why I doubted. Anywho, so just making sure. So what we got here is the 10, right? We got the 10 plug cutter. Got the ten. Yep. We're going to back this off a bit to create our tenon. And you can see our line here. Our line doesn't, well, our line is our guide, right? We're just going to go with that. We're just going to leave it at that. So the line being the guide, we're going to drop the speed down to about 700 or so. Yeah. Okay. Looking good, looking good. All right. Remember, we're not going for fast speed. We're just trying to get in and out quickly. We don't want to get too far in either, because we'll start doing some weird stuff. And we're just looking for a guide. All right, just a little bit, because we're going to use a square carbide to finish it off. Okay, so for the sake of being careful and being able to adjust if you made a mistake anywhere, what we're looking for is, let's take a look. 944. 944. That's not bad. No, that's not bad at all. We're going to go with that. Ah! I'm just going to use a square carbide. I'm going to finish it off. Careful not to change the angle or change the level or anything of it like that. And then take little bits at a time. You don't have to do it in one swoop. Just do one light press and then just go back and clean it up. Nice and easy. You can see that we still have a lower point right there, but we're going to try to get the rest of it to that lower point. There we go. And because I didn't do it before, I'm going to go ahead and give this a little boop. That's a little boost right there. So, I'm using the shape of the carbide there just to take a look at what we got. So I'm going to measure again. Yeah. Make sure that everything is about the same. Looking at 940. So 942 to 948. So I'd say that that is good enough. I'm also going to go ahead and hit the inside and outside with my tool here, just to knock the corners off. Oh, do a little bit of that. Oh, that's good. Don't worry about creating the relief yet. Then we're going to sanity check ourselves. Make sure that we've got this. Okay, it feels pretty good. Take a look at the teeth and the diameter and everything, because you don't want it to be like too drastically different in size. But we're going to do the same thing. Here's our pliers again. And the reason I'm using pliers, even though I have die holders, is I'm trying to do this as cheaply as possible and show that it can be done if you know what you're doing. All right, so we're going to get this nice and straight. Then we're going to begin our cut here. Nice. Okay. Man, there's lots of noodles. Okay, because this tenon is as long as it is, I'm going to back it out, clear out, and then go back in. And I think I could have done just a little bit smaller of a diameter here. That's all right. All righty. So we are good. Okay. Good. That is nice. That is nice enough. The next thing is to go ahead and cut a little relief on the back end. Little relief, not too far. We do have a lot of material, but that doesn't mean you need to use it. What I mean by that is cutting a big old gutter. You don't need to do that. And since we're in this position right now, what we're going to do is we're going to take our barrel of the pen here. We're going to just run it in and see. So you can see it starts getting tight right there. So what that tells me is that I need to do just a small adjustment. Nothing drastic, nothing wazoo. Take your time. Time, do what's right. In this case, all we're going to do is we're going to take the same die that we did before. So we did the number side facing the first place. We're going to do the opposite this time. So nice and slow, catch the threads. Make sure that you aren't cross-threaded like I might be here. Seems like a little wonky on me. You look wonky. Whatever. That's not too bad. Anyway, you're going to chase the threads in the reverse direction. To try and make them seat just a bit more. That's a trick I got from I forgot. Yeah, just run it deeper like that. Then test the fit again. That is good enough. Good enough. Don't get too wrapped around making it just right. Again, we're going for repetitions, and this isn't going to be sold anyways. Right? Right. Okay, so what we need to do before we mess with too much more here is... Oh, this is going to be obnoxious. Oh, well. So we've got this, and it's sticking out just a little bit. But now we need to determine how much deeper we've got to go. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to take this out and take a look from here to the end, right? So this is the measurement that we need next. So we know that the section is good, and then the body isn't good enough yet. So we have to drill a hole all the way down here. So the way that we're going to do that, excuse me, is I'm going to get my calipers again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them and I'm going to put it up against that. And then the end of that. And I'm just going to sink it down just a tiny bit. Yeah. So I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm not going to go necessarily off of that specific number. I'm going to go off of this depth that I've got. So What I need to do is get my 1/4 inch drill bit, and I need to get the body chucked back up. This is where we're doing a little bit of fine tuning because we winged all the measurements in the first place. Like I said, the only thing that I knew when I was building this pin is that the 3/8 and the 1/2 inch taps and dies would work, and then I built everything around that. So I hope you're enjoying the ride with me here. Let's see. Alrighty. And like I mentioned before, you can go a little deeper, but I mean, you can always drill a little bit deeper, but figuring out how to do it the opposite is not as easy. So take your time, do it slow. Okay. We've got our mark. It's pretty far down, and we can, you know, kind of make sure that our mark is good by checking it on the actual piece that we're measuring. So this is where we are, and it's going to take me right close to where I want to be. I don't know if you can see that, but that's what we're looking at here. So we got this. Here's the very tippy tip. And so this should put us right where we want to be. Or just shy of it. Because we're going to creep in just a little bit. Okay. Make sure you throw your sharp drill bits on the floor. You don't want them too sharp anymore. You just want to use them once, and that's all. Watch your speed on the lathe when you're doing your drilling here. So we've got our 1/4 inch measured to I think what's 67.75. I've got my lathe speed turned pretty far down, and I've also seated the drill bit to where I just made contact with the inside, which is about right here, and then I just, 1/4 turn back, seat it, 1/4 turn back. That's where I'm starting. That way I have enough drill bit and enough room on the tailstock to get as far as I'm wanting to go here. Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't want to go as far as you want it to. That's all right. Back it off. Do it again. Okay, I am at my line and backing off. Okay, because I've got a lot of dust in here, I gotta take it out and knock it off. Jeez Louise. Just keeps giving. All right, there we go. Good enough. Okay. Right. You can see that we have a slight gap right here. Slight gap, which is fine. Not a concern. I can do one of two things. I go a little deeper into the section, or I go a little deeper into the body. And since I have a lot more room on the body because it's 105 mil. We're going to take it from there. So all we need to do is go just a tiny bit. And when I mean tiny, I mean just a tiny bit. Just creep up on it. Creep up on it. If you don't, you'll be bummed. You'll get mad, angry, frustrated, all the above. And then it'll just make your timing just that much less enjoyable. So like maybe I went too far on that one. But maybe it's also perfect. We'll just hope that it's that. Oh, moment of truth. Once I finally get to these threads. Ah! Would you believe it? Only went halfway. So I got to go just a tiny bit more. Make sure we're all cleared out here. Okay. Bring her in. Get in there. Okay. So here we are. Here. Trying to find a reference point, but I'm not having. I think you're right. I think you did. I don't know when that happened. Let's see. You'll still get the whole shebang on the video. Anyway, so we got it at the right size. Because the section needs to be trimmed back just a tiny bit anyways, we can use that to chop it off a bit. But we're going to use this live center here to support it. Remember, support it doesn't mean pin it super hard or anything like that. It means support it. So get it relatively close, lock it in, and then just enough to center it, right? Enough to center it and spin it. If you go too far, it will be bummer times. So for this, I think I'm going to do, well, I guess you'll just see the shape. Here we go. Let's go ahead and shape the section. And our target is smaller than these. Right, that is. I like to take my time and go ahead and do the detailed part first, because I know myself, the patience only lasts for so long. So I've got it close here. I'm just going to do it just a little bit more, try to get a little bit of this out of the way. Here. And I'm going to do this just a tad bit more here. There's one little spot that I going. Okay. The shape that we're going to go for is kind of a modified shape here. Where I'd say that it's kind of an unusual shape. But we're going to try to do like a slight and a little like this. Drop that size down just a tad. There. Kind of bubbly looking. If I like that. That should be sufficient. Let me go ahead and measure it. It needs to be 1143, 130, okay. 1150, 1270, okay. Cool. You're good. So there we go. There we go. Now we got the section. Let's take a look at that right quick and see, again, if we do still want to make that adjustment, because this is kind of the final chance for it. Well, I had a Parker refill. And it has since run away. Let's see. All right, here we go. Okay. So it's not beautiful yet, but we're not going for beautiful. We're going for functional. Because again, we're not selling it. We're trying to get repetitions and problem solving and knowing what it is to do when we got to do it. So what we're going to do is dum, dum, dum. Is we're going to trim it down just a little bit more at the very end. And then we'll fix that right quick. Now, you may think that you want to try it like this, but you can also probably see that it's wobbling. And if you try to do anything with it wobbling like this, it is going to be so wonky, and you'll be very disappointed that you did that. So don't do that. It took me an embarrassingly amount of times to figure out what I was doing that was causing my sections to be so messed up. So I told you, so you don't do it yourself. Okay. Fine. Gotta do it right, you know. Gotta do it right. So we're gonna take it down just a little bit more. And then the exception to what I said before about this is cutting straight in. That's not a problem. If I'm just going straight in, not a problem. If I was trying to turn like this, it would definitely be a problem. It would mess it up. There. All we needed. Make sure you are supporting it if you're going to turn it. Or not. If you don't want to, don't do it. But you only do it once. Haha. Okay. So because I did that, I need to do one more time of making it a little bit more pointy. A little bit more pointy. And then we shall be done with this section. And potentially, at this point, if you really wanted to, you can go ahead and sand and polish that, which I am not going to do. This isn't a sanding and polishing thing I'm doing here. Oh. Okay, we are good enough. Not going to mess with that anymore. This is good enough. I'm not telling you, I'm telling myself. Because that's how I roll. You know what? Doesn't look that bad. Now, here's where it can get interesting. So, at this point, what you have to determine is, do you want to use your cap to hold the barrel, or the barrel to hold the cap when you turn it? That's what you got to figure out now. And also, the other thing I've got to do right quick is, because that doesn't fit right, I got to make that quick adjustment here. So, I'm going to measure this right quick. There we go. There we go. Boom. So 38-ish. And we can see that we are not at 38-ish. So I'm going to lock that into place, get a drill bit. I'm actually just going to use the 21/64ths, and that will potentially give me a little bit more room for customization at the end if I really wanted to do a steeper angle here. This part isn't super important. You just don't want to go like ridiculously deep, because then you'd have a different problem on your hands to solve if you drilled out the back end or cut off the back end. Either one. So I've got my mark for the 38-ish point. Those tools out of the way. There we go. Like I said, it's not super important to be absolutely precise, especially when we're getting repetitions. I mean, you want to be as accurate as you can, but you don't have to be picture perfect. But we're going to go just past this black line, because that's where I measured it to be. Now, it should fit. And if it doesn't, I'll just drill a little bit more. Look at that. You're turning nice. We got her turning really nice. So what this tells me is that, well, I've done pretty good. Yeah. Let's see. So as I mentioned before, you can use the simplest way is to use either the section or the cap or the barrel as the mandrel for the other one. And you will need to make another piece as well. So whichever way you decide to do that is your deal. Or like you may have seen on my initial part of the setup here, I have these. I've got some bolts that are for these in particular. And so I use this to go in. I use it like that. And it won't necessarily go any further. And even if it did, it won't matter that much. But I used to use this as a stopper, but it's hard to work around it. And the reason I was using it as a stopper is because I didn't want it to continue threading up. So I also didn't want it to go off the end and flare out. So with those two things, I just dealt with what I could. For the other component, because I had a tenon for the body, my fix was a piece of tape that I just wound up a whole bunch of tape so it wouldn't go any further. So I used this, it would thread in, and then it would stop at the tape, but it would also stop on the inside because it wasn't threaded anymore. So both of those things. So, like I said, you could use the cap or the barrel as the mandrel for the other one, and then you just make the reciprocal of that piece. Or you can use a bolt that is corresponding with the size, or you can make your own designated mandrel for it. So that's what we got. Well, that's what I had when I was doing it. And before we do any final cuts or anything like that, we need to check the depths of where we are and mark them so we know a ratio. So here, I'm going to plunge depth it. I don't worry so much about the measurement, but it is something good to be aware of. So this is that mark. Mark is here, and that's about 41 millimeter. So we'll just call this 41 because it's 40.95. About 41. And then the other one is, let's see, we are at 68.4. So we're at 68.4. And because we like things looking proportional, well, I guess this is a time where you should determine how you want it to be. But you can see this is one of my previous pocket pens. So that's kind of the ratio I did, which is a way, I suppose. This one is it's 57 to about 65. 57 to 65. I'll be honest, that's not a great ratio. But I think because of it being a larger diameter and then a thinner diameter, it actually makes the difference to where it uh, doesn't look too weird. So, because we don't know our ratios that we're going for, just assume that we don't. Let's say that this is pretty good, and this is pretty good. We're just going to bump this up to about 43 or so. Measure it here in just a second. And then this, I'm going to bump down to 70. That way we can have relative numbers that we're going for here. So I guess that's about 45. Oh, this is 45. And then this one is 73. 45, 73, should be 90. But we're not going to do that. So let's see. I don't know, drop it down to 75. That'll be fine. Yeah. Cool. All right, so for this, the cap is 45 mil now at this highest mark. And then this lowest mark here on the body of the barrel is 75. So 45 and 75. And those are going to be my cut lines. Because there's nothing to worry about in the barrel, I can do whatever shape I want towards the end, all the way to the front part. And then for the other, I can do a similar thing. And do a little bit of shaping, but we want to make sure that we don't do too much because we only have a small taper on the inside. So we got to remember that so we don't do anything too wild. So here we go. The biggest thing for this bolt, they do actually fit in the collet, but I'm sticking to the jaws. That way we can do this from start to finish with as few tools as possible. But it does, in fact, fit in the jaws, and the collet here, see? And it would be pretty nice to use, but I'm not going to use it. I'm going to stick with this. And it'll be fine. It's really not going to be that big of a deal. Because it's going to be held in place and then supported. And so everything's going to be perfect. Oh, idiot. I didn't put it all the way in yet. And yes, I do know that this moves like this. Not ideal. But again, we're going for simplest. And you know what? I'm actually going to back this off more. You know what's a bummer is that's fine. Whatever. Okay, good enough. Okay. When we're going for our size stuff, we want to keep in mind that we're not going to go much bigger than, well, 12 on the inside, and then this is already 15, 16 on the outside. So we're not going to go too deep for this because we want it to also match up with the outside. So we're going to end up using a shoulder, no problem, but we do want it to also look pretty good when we're doing it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take whatever kind of parting tool you want to. And you're just going to mark it. This is a separation line. Yeah. And then we're going to turn it down to where we want it to be. Oh, whoops. Okay, this is almost good enough. No, it's not. It sucks. Can't have that, even if it's junk. I'm gonna get rid of. Why is this thing turning like this? Ah! Faster isn't helping. It's just making this terrible. It's not a turning tutorial. It's bouncing off a lot. Like it shouldn't be. I'll come back and clean it up though. What the heck? It's getting a mind of its own. Good enough. Good enough. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to use some coarse sandpaper. I'm going to get it the rest of the way. Again, you want to make sure that you're not turning this one too fast. Otherwise, it will just dance around on you. And it'll be really, really wonky. There we go. That little guy, don't worry about that little guy. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put this sucker off. Actually, it go once. So make sure that you got this end on the body as clean as possible. Clean as possible before you actually separate it. Because it might dance around on you. Although it's behaving nicely right now. Of course it is. Okay. Let's not get too excited about anything yet. Still got the cap to do. Wait, there we go. All right. We got the cap to do. And like I showed you before, already got a bolt that is right here, of course. I knew exactly where it was. Got a bolt. And it's just going to keep going in. Now, if you really, really wanted to, you can actually grab a dowel or something like that. Okay. So these threads go about this far, and we know that we're going to go about this far. So we need a dowel for this difference. I'm actually going to do that. That way it doesn't do anything too crazy. If I were a tiny little piece of something that was related to the resin component, where would I be? There, that'll work. Yeah, that'll work. Can't show you what I used. Just kidding. I'll show you when we're done. Okay. but it won't work because it's not perfectly flat. Of course. You know what? Whatever. I'm spinning. Okay, we're just going to go with this. Of course you're still spinning. Wouldn't you be? Okay. Remember that little punch we did? The carbide before, square carbide? Oh. Come in handy, right there. All right. Okay, we've got our mark right here. We go for it. Oh, I can tell this is going to be just as fun as the body. I don't know if it's the resin or if it's just my lack of doing it this way or what. But I don't like it. I feel like oh. I'm not going to be too drastic of a shape now. Oh, that's good enough. I'm going to use our file and finish that up. Looks like it dug pretty good right there. That's what we like to see. We like to see nice big digs. Thank you for tuning in to watch me sand. Hope it's been fun and enjoyable. Okay. Again, careful. Don't go too deep. Remember, the outer diameter goes all the way up here. So if we go too deep, we'll end up with a couple pieces of cap. We don't want that. Sure, that's good enough. Now we're going to crank this up, and remember the same thing applies. You want to make sure that you get the end of that as nice as you can. And that just popped off nicely, actually. Boom. Let's see. All right, so I don't want to show finishing it because I'm not gonna, but I guess I could hit it with some like polish. Yeah, hit it with some polish. Give it that perception. This won't be a product placement, I'll tell you that much. Get out of here. Oh, yeah. Just hit it a couple times with this stuff here. Ah, it's down there. Oh. Cool. Look at that. No sanding. I'm just going right for it. right to the polish, because that's what we do. Good enough. Look at that. It's better than... Just kidding, I'm not going to say anything. Okay. Okay. And then the other piece here. Alrighty. This doesn't really matter. Just need it spinning. Using the stuff that I've got here. Should have knocked off that corner. Hi! Give me that. That's why you don't wear gloves. You don't wear gloves. You don't want to wear anything that's going to catch. That's good enough. I need to get carried away with this. Oh. Alrighty then. How? Never mind. Just gonna do it like this. Did it by hand. How about that? Bada bing, bada boom. And let's see. Okay. Moment of truth. We got the ink. Let's load it up into the barrel. Boom. Let's grab that section. Throw it up in there. Whoa. That's nice. Ooh. Cap, get in there. Go to your home. And just like that, now we have a little pen, single start, baby, with my quick polish. And don't make pens like this and try to sell them. It's not worth. It's really not good enough. But it is a good way for you to practice, get repetitions on the process, and be able to build something like this. So, yeah. Anywho. Well, if you stayed here live, thanks. Thanks for hanging out. But yeah. There. That's it. That's all she wrote. Let's see how long that take. Sweet baby Jesus. It took a while. Mm. Am I in here all by myself? I don't even know. I don't know. Volume off. Boom, boom, boom. 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 Aha! There we go. Well, if you could, and you enjoyed hanging out, I'd appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up. This will become a video in the near future. It is one that has been a long time coming. I just figured I'd go ahead and do it live because it's more fun. I think it would be more fun to watch somebody suffer through something when they're, trying to remember what it was that they done before. It's like, I think I did it like this. I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah. Anywho, anybody got any questions? Questions are good. No. Okay. Okay. Wish I had my notebook out here. I actually have a couple cool things in there. Yeah. Well, what do you think? What do you think of the pin? A little polish left over on it. But yeah, it wasn't intended to show the. Oh, you know why it's not focusing? Because it's never gonna focus. There we go. So for me personally, I still like it to stick out just a little bit more, but then I'd have to go back and reset all that and do it again. But yeah, how about that? Maybe. Maybe. Anyway. All right. Well, that is enough footage for me. Thanks for watching. This video is meh, whatever. If you want to watch the whole live, go for it. I was gonna make it private, but whatever. I'm not gonna. Thanks for watching. Made my day. All right. Appreciate y'all hanging out. I will see you next time.